I had a question when the film, because it's enraging, like my emotion, like there's a scene and when you leave the car, once you leave the car and come back, the film is on go.
Yeah.
Right. And streaming from the Malcolm X thought, is our liberation in the ballot or the bullet?
Yeah, I think it's in both. I think if you look at any oppressed people that have overcome that oppression, they understood that everyone was necessary. And they also understood that it's critical that we don't disparage anyone's path, because God has given people different gifts, you know, and different positionings. You're a journalist, brother. Like the barbershop.
Yes.
The barbershop. There's never been in any institution or corporation that has ever been more impactful to us than the barbershops and the beauty shops. Listen, they were amongst the first places where we can have conversations and convene without white people being around.
Right.
We could close the door and critique each other and come out of it stronger. It's so necessary, you know. And it's interesting how so many people who are not necessarily in alignment with our liberation, because it doesn't mean as much to them, find ways to goad us into disparaging each other. So we spend more time responding to the hurt of someone who looks like us critiquing us than we do around recognizing that we're fighting for the same thing.
Amen.
You know?
Yeah. DB.
Yeah, I wanted to take it a little back a little bit further. Making a film of this magnitude, I'm pretty sure you had to get some financial backing from investors, and they were probably white. What was that conversation like?
Well, it's always interesting. The question, you're bringing up a very interesting question, because, you know, I make films about our liberation. Check my resume. You know what time it is.
Yes, yes.
What's funny about that is having to go and ask a white person, can you give me money so I can make a film that will create the type of equity that may take away privilege from your kids? It's a big ask. You get what I'm saying? It's a hard thing to do, but I do it all day long. You know, I'm an independent filmmaker, and I do that so I can maintain creative control. Unfortunately, when you involve too many people that don't know your experience, out of that comes misguided support. They'll say things like, "You sure you want that in the movie? Because that might alienate these people." And you know me, like the way I do it is I say, okay, let's make the movie. As long as I have creative control, then we make the movie and they say, well, what do you think about this? And I say, thank you for that. Oh man, thank you. And then I just go on and do what I want to do anyway, you know? So yeah, having to compile and aggregate white dollars to tell a black story is very hard. I think that's another issue that we need to address. You know, we can't expect people that whether they like it or not benefit from our oppression to be as desperate about our liberation as we are, you know. And let me keep it real. When I did Birth of a Nation, I had Tony Parker step up. I had Michael Finley step up. I had Derek Brooks step up, because a lot of our economy lies in, you know, the jump shots of these black you know what I'm saying? The 40 speed of these, and a lot of them recognize are coming to recognize that. And again, these are younger people that are recognizing, wait a minute, okay, I have all this wealth. Maybe I can maybe my legacy is important too. When I go and talk to these brothers, I'm not like, yo, let's get the money, let's get the bag. You know, when people ask me, am I rich? I'm like, bro, I make positive black movies. Ain't no money in that. You know what I'm saying? So, but I'm cool with that. Dude, what did Paul Robeson say? The artist must decide to fight for bondage or freedom. I've made my choice. Made my choice. I'm not tripping, but it's a journey every time a story enters my mind, and I say to myself, how will I get this to the people? You know, and even with this, like, we don't have any marketing dollars. Ain't no money. Word of mouth is the reason why the film has blown up in the way that it has. You haven't seen any billboards or commercials, you know, because again, to the how do I say this in a way that keeps me from getting in trouble? We just don't have our own. And when we do have our own, it's so hard for those organizations to get full buy-in from us, you know? So I think we have to get back to our way of thinking when we were in Tulsa. You know what I mean? And when I say Tulsa, I mean 100 years ago, May 31st. where we had our own banks, we had our own transportation, we had so much of our own that people outside of our community would come to our community to give us things. We got, when people talk about economic empowerment, it ain't just a buzzword. I mean, barbershops. I mean, like I said, when I was excited to meet with you brothers, or talking I'll talk in a barbershop without any cameras, just on the strength of that conversation, because it's one of the first Black-owned businesses. I'll go to a barbershop out here in Pasadena called Just in Time, right? The owner, Chuck, puts on all these barbers. You'll see someone come in, they may be a returning citizen, they may be 15, 16 years old, but there's a power in that, so I think outside the box when I raise money. I go in, I definitely talk to, grassroots. I talk to, as many people as I can, but ultimately it is very difficult, to answer your question, brother, to raise the type of money to have a film that people will take seriously without engaging the very people connected to what you're trying to overthrow.